postman?
Well, I think it's a great challenge. I mean, obviously he's playing at a very high level. Did so last year. He's one of the best running big men I've seen in a long time. A tremendous speed. Their running game is really on all cylinders right now, and that's obviously an issue for us at both ends of the floor, in terms of shot selection and ability to get back. So it's going to have to be a collective effort where obviously Woody will start on, and then bring in, Melson and Gabe and Zach, and rotate some guys on him. So it's a great challenge. You got to sprint back. If you don't, he's going to dunk the ball, and you got to play before he gets it.
Obviously, they were very good last year, but adding Yogi Ferrell to point guard, what has he brought to Indiana that maybe they didn't have last year?
Well, I think what you're seeing a team with an incredibly high shooting percentage from three. Not that they didn't have good three-point shooters last year, they did. But he gets them the ball when they're open. I mean, he loads them up, and he's constantly breaking his man down and creating opportunities for those guys to get open shots. And, whether it be in transition or out of their half court. So he pushes it, so he's made their break better. He gets the ball inside, he finds three-point shooters, and he makes plays. He makes plays late.
How is Zeller better? What parts of the game are improved from here?
Well, I didn't think he had too many flaws last year. I just think he's a little bit older, a little bit smarter, a little bit better. But the thing about him is he's a tremendous ball handler for a guy that size. He's got great handles, he can dribble release. He's in great shape physically. And he's able to sustain the ability to run the floor. A lot of big guys run the floor some of the time. He runs it all the time. So he creates problems for you defensively and puts pressure on your defense. But he's got a game, so he can post up, he can pop out, he can drive the ball from the perimeter. He can feed the post, he can make plays off the dribble for other people. And those guys are difficult coverage.
Do you personally like games like this where when you look at their personnel, you see they have 2 6-foot guards, you have 2 6-foot guards, they have a 6'5" wing, you have a 6'6" wing, 7-foot center.
To be honest with you, I'm not like that. I mean, I look at who we play and I just try to put a game plan that I think will work for us. We've had some teams that have been small and played small and things of that nature. We've had to adjust. Those are the same things you're going to see all season long. So you just have to adjust to the moment. I mean, they're going to start a traditional lineup, but they could go small. They have played, Oladipo and Sheehy's the 4, and they've done that. So he's got a lot of options he can go to there. So we'll just line up and play whatever they send out there.
When you didn't start a Big Ten play, your first 3 games against rated teams, is it easy or hard for you and your team to have tunnel vision and just concentrate on the absolute task at hand and not look ahead?
I think it's easy. We haven't even mentioned who we play after Indiana. I'm not going to lie to you. I was worried. Obviously, we were locked in for Iowa State, Northern Iowa, and then we had 2 games before we played Indiana. And that was the time when I was worried about us looking ahead. And I was proud of the fact that we didn't slip there. And we took care of business, and now we can focus on Indiana.
Do your post players seem confident going into this game from what you can tell? I mean, I know it's still a ways away.
Yeah, they're playing well. I think they all feel good about themselves. They recognize that we're playing, and they recognize the challenge before us, but I think they feel good about themselves.
Is this the situation maybe you envisioned when you took the job 3 years ago, where you got, one team ranked 5th in the country, you got a sold-out arena for the Big Ten opener? I mean, everything you wanted to bring back to Iowa basketball has come true.
I hope to get to the point where our fans, wanted to come back and identified with this team and got behind this team and appreciate how hard they've worked. They recognize our opponent and their history and the fact that they're ranked 5th. And they want to see great basketball. And our objective is to make sure that we play the game the right way and compete at a level that puts us in a position to win.
Granted, it's only December, but a couple of these bracketologists have your team in the tournament. I know it's 3 months away, but from a recruiting standpoint and a big picture standpoint, do you view that as a positive? You're being mentioned?
Yeah, I like the fact that we're being mentioned. To be honest with you, I didn't even know that until you just said it, you know, because it's really, it's kind of irrelevant, but at the same time, it's the reality of where we are. You know, I don't think any of us ever envisioned that there would actually be a bracketologist, but there is. And the bottom line is, you know, we work their numbers every game, and people find that interesting. As you know, Rick, it means nothing right now. But recruits do get on the internet. They do look at that stuff. And so ultimately, it is good.
You guys have done well against Indiana lately, and you beat them at home last year, but how is this year's team different compared to the last few years?
Well, I think in a couple ways. Obviously, Farrell has made a dramatic impact on that team. It's taken a lot of pressure off of everybody else. I mean, it's enabled Hulls to, he's just killing it from three. He's made 33s. He's really playing at a high level. He doesn't have to worry about handling the ball as much. But I think the difference in their team this year is the play of Oladipo and Sheehy. They're playing like veterans now. They were always good. They were always athletic. They could always score. They're not making the mistakes. They made mistakes as freshmen and sophomores that they're not making now. And they're really playing like elite players. And we already knew that, you know, you have Watford, Zeller, and Hulls. I mean, they've got three elite scorers right there. They have two other guys playing at that level. You know, pretty impressive.
Nelson's ankle responded.
He's good. Yeah, he's good. He's practiced hard the last 2 days and shown no signs of any problem.
They put a lot of pressure on your defense last year over there, especially. Was a tough game. I mean, what do you show? What do they do that maybe
There's a lot of things that we have to pay attention to. I mean, if you look at last year's game here, it was completely different than the one that was played there. Obviously, we would hope it would be more like the one that was played here, but you know, it was 32-31 with under 8 minutes to go in the half, and we go in down 17. You know, so we sort of fell apart. Teams have a tendency to do that against them. You know, they're a big spurt team. You know, you're looking right at them, and next thing you know, you're down 15, and it happens so quickly. And a lot of times it's because they're talented and they move the ball and they make threes and they're very unselfish. But a lot of times it's insane offense that just makes no sense at any particular time. Jacking threes, driving into packs of people, turning it over. If you turn it over, it's a dunk against this team. So, you know, we've got to be intelligent with everything that we do.
Coach, it's not just Indiana, but you guys got a tough schedule right away with Michigan and Michigan State. I mean, how important is it for you guys to get a big signature win on Monday? I mean, of course, every win is important, but...
Well, what's important is that we play well and that we play the way we're supposed to play against a really good team. Obviously, we want to win. Obviously, it would make a big impact if we could win. But, you know, we recognize that we're playing, and we recognize that we're going to have to play better than we've played up until now. With all due respect to the opponents that we've beaten and some of the great games we've had, you know, we're going to have to play mistake-free basketball, shoot it better. They're a phenomenal rebounding team. You know, for a team to average 13 offensive rebounds a game when they're shooting 52%, that's an incredibly impressive number. There's just not that many misses, and they're going back and getting them, and keeping you on defense. So, you know, we're going to be challenged, you know, on the glass, at full court and half court. You know, they're changing defenses a little bit more, and they're going to make our young guys think.
I think of the 6 Big Ten teams that are ranked, 4 of them you only play once, so maybe you don't have as many opportunities to get a signature wins, but you look back to 4 wins last year over top 25 teams. I mean, that's really going to be what defines this team, don't you think, as far as postseason?
In terms of postseason, yeah. I mean, that's going to be the critical thing. We've got opportunities we've got to take advantage of.
When you look at the backcourt matchups, and you mentioned how Jordan Hulls is a guy who's been killing it from 3, what are your expectations that you have for guys like Anthony Clemens and Mike Cassell when they're going up against somebody like that?
Well, they just have to stay locked in. I mean, he's a guy, if you're guarding Hulls, if you let down for 1 second, it's 3 points. Mm-hmm. He's got that relentless ability to stay focused, and he constantly moves. And the thing about him is he can pass. He's not a shooter. Happens to be a great shooter, but he's not what I would call a shooter. He can play off the dribble, he can find people. You know, a lot of the dunks that Zeller had against us last year, especially down there, were off of his passes. So you got to be locked in and guard this guy because he can hurt your team in a lot of different ways.
You've had this match. I mean, you've played this team 4 times over the last 2 years. Most of the players are still there. Holes, as you mentioned, and Oladipo and some of the others. I mean, do you kind of look back at your old scouting reports and kind of blend them with a few new ones, or how do you?
No, everything's different. I shouldn't say that. I mean, to a certain extent, there's some of the same players. They run some of the same plays, but this is a completely different team. You know, you've got freshmen that are playing now. You know, Pereira's playing. You know, he wasn't playing before. And they've got different pieces that make this team different. We've got to prepare differently.
You feel like your team is better prepared, don't you?
Well, we have a better team. You know, we're deeper. You have to be deep because this team's going to make you guard them. If you don't guard them, they're averaging 89. That's a big number. They averaged 80 last year, so they're averaging 89. So you got to really make sure that we're rotating personnel. We've got fresh personnel on the floor. We got to get back. We've got to be up toward the ball. We've got to put pressure on the ball. We've got to contain the dribble, and then we've got to battle them on the glass. It takes a lot of effort.
Coach, the last couple games in non-conference, we saw you guys be a little more aggressive defensively, kind of do a little full court. Are you guys going to have to change that against the Big Ten, especially with, like you said, Indiana, the passing?
We may, you know, it'll be a function of a lot of different things, who we're playing. But, you know, we're going to press pretty much in every game we play.
How do you feel like you guys are doing in 2014, recruiting-wise?
I think we're doing pretty well. We're locked in on a few guys, and I think it's a good class. Got a number of people on campus, and you know, we'll see.
What are you targeting position-wise, and you know, what do you need?
Well, you know, I think you typically target what you lose. Obviously, in that class, we're losing, you know, a marquee wing guy who can play the point and two post guys, so we've got to get some forwards, you know, preferably, you know, versatile guys. But you know, you go in and say, okay, that's what we're looking for, but then necessarily that's what we're going to get. Right? If you have an opportunity to get somebody who's a great player at a position, you'll try to get them anyway.
Hitting Chicago in that class pretty hard. I know you can't talk specifics, but how important is that area to you guys?
Well, I think it's potentially very important. And we've worked Chicago since we've gotten here. It's been good to us over the years. There's a lot of terrific players, terrific coaches, a lot of really good players that come in ready. But, you know, like I always say, if we don't get somebody from Chicago, we'll get somebody from somewhere else that can play.
Okay, thanks, guys.